And just give me, let's do 2 gratitudes.
I have a super quick one.
Okay,
I love the
sure.
first of the month. I almost lost my mother-in-law in May, and we've always had this cool thing for like the last 2 years where on the first of the month we say rabbit rabbit to each other because it brings us good luck.
Oh,
Her
wow.
for bingo, me for whatever. So yeah, I'm thankful for the first of the month and that she can still text me.
Nice. You do that the first of every month.
The first of every month. Yep.
That's
we
fun.
try to see who beats
That's
each
cute.
other. I let her beat me today. I was up at 5, but I let her beat me today.
Oh, that's nice.
That's cute.
And I'm competitive, so that's a lot.
That's cool. All right, let's get one more. Anybody? Jason?
I'm grateful for my daughter. She had her birthday this weekend, turned 12. My oldest.
Oh,
crazy.
boy.
Hey.
Growing up.
The games
When we
began.
met,
You didn't have, when we met, you didn't have kids.
she didn't have, yeah, we didn't have kids.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I'm excited.
That's awesome.
I'm grateful for this weekend. Trevor and I went to Colorado, and it was just cool to see. We've never actually been to like Denver and explored it, and so it was cool to just go like explore the new city. We saw where the Rockies played, which he's always wanted to see. So it was
Yeah.
cool to go hang out for a
That's
bit.
cool.
Did you drive there?
Yeah, we just road tripped
Wow.
out there. We went to
Good for
the Colorado
you.
Rockies, and then we
That's
just
a beautiful
drove
drive.
everywhere. It was beautiful. Good
Yeah,
times.
that's cool. Good for you guys. All right. Hey, so this morning I was thinking about just all the different angles of this thing, and I was thinking about it was October 1st, 2002. So almost 20 years ago that I bought a company by the name of Realty Executives. It's like that's where I met Jay way back in the day. And as I was reflecting on that, I was thinking, and then when I say 24, because I've been there about 2 years at Realty Executives, or no, sorry, I think I got ahead of myself. I said 24 years. It should have been 22 because I got there 2 years before and then I ended up buying it. So 22 years, not 24 years. When I was talking about how long I've been doing this morning meeting. But when I started doing this morning meeting, it started off with really just an invigorator to making sure that you started each day off prospecting the way that it should. And I think a lot of people thought, and then well, let me back up even a little bit further. A lot of people, you'd see it started with just a handful of people, meaning there was 4, 5, 6 people at most in the room. And then it continued to expand as the years went on and got on. And, it's funny that in that room, there was a gentleman by the name of Boyd Brown. If any of you know Boyd, he owns most of the Keller Williamses in Utah. In that room was also a gentleman by the name of Brady Long, who started Equity Realty. In that room was a gentleman by the name of Derek Clark, who started Select Group Realty. It was if you look around the state, in that room sat and stood a group of us that represent now today over 60-something% of all transactions that happen in the state of Utah. I mean, it's kind of existing home sales. It was quite a robust group. And I've seen a lot of different companies try to create this meeting. It's been an interesting thing to watch, and very few people have been able to sustain it. I'm always grateful for Rick and for Ruby and Jason and Rob and others that have continued to do that. And a lot of people, even though I don't really talk much about it anymore, I just, when COVID hit, I remember that, we got really deeply involved. And then on August 15th, 2 years ago, 2 years ago this month, now, is when I hit my head, and man, my world like literally changed and went upside down. It rocked my world. And I had a concussion, and that concussion lasted all the way until about November of last year. So it's been, and then in the last few months, I've had a back surgery and hernia surgery and all sorts, and Jennifer had a back surgery. So it's been an eventful 6 months, even since November, or a little over that now. But so the reason, I just want to echo to a handful of you, the reason for changing some of the times and just going back to what I would consider some of our core fundamentals is a lot of it has to do with just some of the market shifts that are happening. And I don't want to necessarily, market shifts are happening. Reductions of price will have to happen, or prospecting is needed. And you're seeing some agents where they literally have not missed a beat, and they're earning the exact same amount of money or having banner years, more than they've ever earned in the history of their life. But there's one fundamental thing that seems to be the fundamental, and that fundamental is the fact that there's a deep level of prospecting that is going on. And so I just want you to think about your prospecting. So I want to put up just a couple of rules, and just as we move through this, guys, I'm thrilled. You guys want to show up early and role play, knock yourself out. In this time, what I want to try to do is end it never any later than 8:15. But the reality is I want to start ending this at 8. I want to make this about a 30-minute meeting. And they say, well, wait a second here. There's always all these great things. Well, there is, but I want to point out just a couple of things in regards to what should be happening in regards to your schedule. So let's just talk about, actually, let's just list up here this foundation that we always work off of. I'm not going to go over it, except I'm going to go over one element of it. But if it was back, my gosh, it has to be now like 27, 28 years, somewhere in that realm, because it was my first year or two in the business. And I sat down and asked the question, what do top producers do? How many of you are like newer in this business, right? Or how long have you been in the
I
business?
feel like I'm still new. It's new every transaction, 4 years.
You've been 4 years. I thought you started with us then.
I wish I would have started with you.
I didn't know that.
even
Okay.
till 2
All
years
right,
ago.
cool. All right. I didn't know that, Marissa. So that's great. Okay. So, but this isn't a criticism. I mean, it was like a year or two into it when I was sitting over in this building right over here. And in fact, Rick and I were probably in the same building over there. We were over at Coldwell Banker. And it was when the Webbers owned it. It was like a franchise, not like what it is today. A massive Goliath corporation. It was as simple, if you would say, I like to think as Everest. But I remember I wrote down the question. Now we've refined this, but just remind yourself that, look, you got to live your life with a deep sense of purpose. Number 2 is you have to have goals, you have to have a plan, and you have to have a schedule. And the thing that I was just going to note was we're going to focus on the schedule just for a minute. Then we need to make sure that we're focusing on our mindset, our sales skills, and then we need to make sure that we're highly disciplined. And then we need to make sure that we have some level of systemization or maybe some strategies to what we do. That foundation, guys, has been the ingredient for me to self-diagnose my whole life. And when this meeting happened, I got ahead of myself here, but when Realty Executives, I ended up selling my ownership in Realty Executives on January 1st, effectively, 2007. A lot of people thought that I would stop January 1st, 2007, Kelly, and they thought, well, he's not going to do this morning meeting stuff. I mean, that's just kind of probably a dog and pony show. I mean, it's just we're up there chanting our affirmations, high-fiving each other, role-playing, practicing, doing. He's going to stop all that. Well, for a period of time with Rob Oakey and a few of us, we went out and started selling real estate. And every morning I continued for nearly 2 straight years just on my own with a group of 4 or 5 of us. And we would sit in our conference room on a little office over there on 1300 East. So some of you remember where Old Rich Realtors used to be. And we would sit there and we were doing the very same things that we're doing. So I just want to remind you, or just at least let you know, or maybe not acknowledge you, but let you know that this is stuff that we've done for a long time. It's not stuff that we're saying going, oh, well, hey, if we could just come up with this stuff and it would be so grand and great. And what I'm most concerned about is the level of prospecting that is happening inside of our entire organization, maybe not necessarily exactly with this group. And I'm highly concerned as to the structure that people are putting together for their days. So kudos to you for being here, all of you, because that means that you're doing some really good things. And it means that you understand that this foundation, what I found, I said I wouldn't talk a lot about it, but now I'm lying because I'm going to say something about it. Here we go. If you live your life with a deep sense of purpose and you know why you're doing what you're doing, you have specific goals that are your stepping stones or that help you ensure you living out your purpose, your plan, your schedule. If you have a strong mindset, skill sets, and personal discipline, and you have systems and strategies that work within your business and your life, I can guarantee you those aren't the people who come to me and go, oh man, I don't know, man, business isn't really working well for me. I'm really struggling here. And the fact is that you won't struggle. But what I found is that this became my prescription. And it also became my diagnosis. When things weren't working right, I would just go back to that and go, wait a second here. I'm not being disciplined. Wait a second. I'm lacking some skill sets. What is it about my mindset and my belief and my confidence, my certainty that I'm bringing to the table right now? And I would just challenge each one of you that as you start looking at that foundation, that you recognize that there's bits and pieces of this foundation that are critical. So prospecting, just a couple of rules for you. Here's number one, number one is let's just do this. Number one is the schedule. I had number two in my mind, but number one, a schedule. In relationship to this, there should be at least 3+ hours, but I want to focus on just a rule of prospecting that it's not new to some of you, but it's a reminder, and that is that 3+ hours of prospecting. I'm going to put the word or up here, or 30+ contacts, or 2+ appointments set. This little box years ago, when I found myself really struggling with prospecting, became my mantra. That is that I did 3+ hours, 30+ contacts, and 2+ appointments a day. And any one of those three things that I did in a given day was a victory. So if I didn't set the appointments, but I made 30 contacts, or if I didn't set the appointments or make the number of contacts, but I got 3 hours of prospecting done, I had a day that was victorious. And the key, so let's go to number two. I'm just going to do 3 principles here. And that is that 15+ hours of prospecting equals a minimum of $250,000 a year. And the problem is that so many agents are not prospecting on a consistent fashion. But if you're doing 15+ hours, people say, well, I don't really want to do that. You don't have to. But I know that I spoke at a base camp a few weeks ago, and I was talking about the fact that, my goodness gracious, if we don't recognize that we're in the direct sales business, we've got a big problem. So if we're talking about prospecting, we've got to make sure we schedule it. My encouragement is that what should be happening is that basically from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and that you're done, and the rest of the day should take care of itself. And if that's the stuff that we do when we schedule it, this is our rules. We do at least 15 or more hours. We know we're going to earn $250,000. Now, here's what I haven't mentioned. And here's the deal. Other than this, in regards to, well, who should I call? What doors should I knock? What sources should I go after? Here's what I would tell you. Sources, your sphere of influence. Centers of influence, your sphere. That's your core. And everything else, whether it's for sale by owners, expired listings, which we're seeing a lot more of, internet leads, just listed, just sold, whatever you want to call. I'm totally okay with whatever you want to call or the doors that you want to knock. But if you're being fooled by the idea that you can win at this game at a high level in real estate without at least 15 or more hours a week of prospecting, without some level of rules set up to your prospecting, then you don't schedule it at an exact time, then you're going to really struggle in this business, and you will forever struggle in this business. So recognize how important your prospecting is. And then all of a sudden, just as a reminder, come back over here that when you are in any level or any state of fear, make sure that your gratitude is in place, because gratitude is the ingredient that casts out all fear. Now, I know that none of these concepts, for most of you who have been, especially around me for a while, and others within this company, that the concept we've just talked about are not new. But just remember that learning is remembering. And as you remember what you're supposed to do, right? I've been in this a long time. Jason's been a long time. Jay, you've been a long time. Rick, you've been in a long time. I mean, some of us in this room, Rob, you've been in a long time, longer than even me. You got me by a few months, I think, if I recall. My point is that it's not that we don't know this stuff. It's just whether you choose to do it or not. So whether you're new or experienced or just 4 years in the business person, the reality is that this is the stuff that makes people legendary in this industry. So if you get into the habit of doing 3 things, number one, you either wait for business and just wait for people to call you, you're going to fail. If you go out and just buy your business, just spending tons of money from advertising to pay-per-click to aggregators to the Zillow leads, if that's all you do, that's problematic. And number 3, what is really problematic is that number 3 isn't not problematic, is that you go out and get it. So you have 3 choices: wait, buy, or go get it. And the cheapest way to get your business is to go out and to prospect and to go get it and to make the contacts, make the calls, make the door knocks, and do the things that are necessary. And I'm just here to tell you that if you'll do that, I can just promise you, you'll probably make more than 250 in today's market. But if you aren't prospecting 15 or more hours in a week, then that's problematic. Let me just close with this. Most of my life has been set up to where the successes that I've had or not have always been based on this one concept. And this isn't new again for some of you. Some of you have heard me say this, and that is that I do what I'm supposed to do despite how I feel. I don't know about you, but I often don't feel like doing what I'm supposed to do. But I can just echo to you that if you will do what you're supposed to do, despite how you feel, if you don't feel like 3 hours of prospecting, stop giving that as a validation or a reason why you shouldn't or don't. If you don't feel like knocking doors, then that's all the reason that you shouldn't. It's the reason why, like a Tony Robbins has these words. If I can't, I what? Who knows the answer? If I can't, I what? I must. He gets it. If I can't, I can't prospect it. No, I must then. Because if I can't, I must. So despite how you feel, do your job anyway. Despite whether you feel like prospecting, make the calls. Despite whether you feel like knocking doors, knock the doors. And if you want to really earn the big dollars that this business allows you to earn, the 250, 350, $500,000, $1 million+ dollars, because this is what always happens, guys. People go down and they want to watch like a Brian Burnett. Brian Burnett prospects 4 hours a day. They go listen to him. Jay, they listen. People go, can I go listen to you? Oh, sure, come on. You can stand there, listen. And this is what people, Jocelyn, right? Jocelyn, they listen to this guy. He made $3.4 million last year. This year, he's on track for $4 million. $4 million. $4 million. I just referred him a $10 million listing of a sphere of influence of mine. Most expensive home all in Southern Utah. And he already got a $3 million reduction, which is just crazy. I mean, he just does it. Doesn't matter what he feels like, he just does it. And so you go and you listen to him. I can still remember Dylan Cooley, Miss Mackenzie B, formerly Morris's husband or my daughter, and his wife. And I remember him going down and listening to him. Sorry, I messed that up. going down and going down there and listening to Dylan did. And he sat in there and listened to Dylan, to Brian, and went, what's the big deal? There is no big deal. There actually is no big deal. That's the important thing, because Brian doesn't worry about whether he feels like prospecting today. He doesn't get concerned as to whether he prospects today. He just simply prospects. And that's the deal. Okay.